Hi, I'm Jeff Banks, and welcome to Retail Insight here at the Spring Fair. I'm delighted that I've got with me Evan Lewis, who's actually from Vent for Change, and we're going to find out a little bit more about that in a moment. But what we are celebrating today is the 75th anniversary of the Spring Fair. It still remains the biggest trade exhibition in the United Kingdom. Quite remarkable that it's actually been going 75 years. So, first of all, Evan, what do you actually do? What is Vent for Change?
Vent for Change is it's a sustainable stationery brand that also supports children's education projects around the world. So to unpack that, we produce notebooks, pencils, pens, all from recycled, reclaimed and sustainable materials. And we give a percentage of our turnover to supporting children's education projects all around the world. So we are both sustainable and socially led.
And what inspired you to actually commit your life to that, or part of your life?
Part of it, well, no, it's a big chunk of my life. Vent for Change is a retail brand that we've put together since 2019, but I've actually been an environmental entrepreneur since 1999. When I helped someone set up an environmental wholesale business, I then set up my own in 2005, selling branded merchandise, organic, fair trade, recycled, sustainable products to businesses with their names and campaign messages on them. And in 2014, I bought an old, I say factory, it was a production line that could turn recycled plastic into pencils. And that was to service that sector, that industry that I was already operating in. And after about 16 months of my engineers sort of putting it back together and making it more efficient, they said, look, we've got many more pencils than we need here for the current market that we're in. And you can't ring your customers and say, look, we will buy 25% more pencils. It's just not how it happens. And so I thought to myself, well, what can I do with this spare capacity of recycled pencils? And they're the most iconic educational tool going back centuries. And at the same time, there were stories on the television and newspapers everywhere about how children were being affected by natural disasters, extreme poverty, war and conflict. So I thought, well, let's use this spare capacity of pencils to somehow help the people as well as the planet. And so I started ringing small charities, NGOs, international ones, local ones, and I said, look, yeah, I've got this capacity of pencils. You can have them, literally. I'm going to gift them to you. And they thought it was a wonderful idea. But in truth, it transpired really what they needed was money. They didn't need pencils. Yeah. In Nepal and in the Philippines, you can buy pencils pretty cheap, even though I was offering to give them away. They're saying, we really need cash. We don't mean to be disingenuous, but we need to put roofs on buildings and blackboards and sanitation in place and pay for teachers. So that sort of set me back. What can I do? Well, then I thought, well, let's sell those pencils and give the proceeds to these organizations, these charities. And that's kind of where it kicked off. I started selling them.
Hang on a minute. You had an overcapacity that you couldn't sell.
I could have sold in time, but yeah.
Okay, you then decide, I'm going to give the pencils away to benefit kids all around the world. No, they don't want the pencils, they actually want the roof and the whatever. Yeah. So then I'm going to sell the pencils and give them the money.
Exactly.
So how come you didn't sell them in the first place?
Well, because I wasn't in that sector. I wasn't in that area. And actually what I decided was you need to sell a lot of pencils to make a decent contribution to a school anywhere in the world. So I thought, well, rather than just selling a 10p pencil, let's make some sustainable notebooks out of some intriguing materials that have got a bit more value. Let's create a brand. Let's create a story. Let's educate people in the high street that are just shopping for a notebook or a gift. There are these issues with kids getting to school, millions of children getting to school around the world. So then we looked at, the resources that I had from my other business, who could produce stuff for me in a sustainable way. And so we started producing notebooks under the Vent brand that accompanied the pencils. And we made pens as well from recycled plastic bottles. And we've got notebooks from leather and lavender and coffee and cotton and wool. And take that to the high street and make it visible and get people on board. So that's how Vent was born.
And how successful has that been getting with major retailers?
Well, we launched in 2019, and of course, we went to exhibitions like the Spring Fair, and we got a fantastic reaction. And then we dived straight into the pandemic, and all the retailers closed and the rest. So that was a bit of a setback, for sure. But when those shops started reopening and when we could get back to trade exhibitions, those same people came back and said, we still love the concept. We love the products. We were really determined to make a beautiful product that sold at the right price so that people would buy it irrespective of all the benefits that it comes with. And we've been very successful with that. I don't know if I'm allowed to mention brand names we're with. Yeah, we sell through John Lewis, we sell through Waterstones, we sell through hundreds of small independent gift-led retailers. And they're really our market. We're not after the big grocers and the big multiple stores, because we love to meet our retailers at shows like the Spring Fair, where we can impart some of the story about Vent for Change, tell them what we stand for, tell them what we do, because they then take that into the shop environment. When a consumer comes in, when a customer comes in and says, what's this new notebook about? They become our ambassadors at that point. And so by meeting them at shows, so it's fundamentally important it's part of our story. And
why do you think this whole sustainability thing is important?
Why do
or is it just another sales vehicle and a tool and something, another tag?
To some people, it's definitely just another sales tool. I'll tell you how important it is to me. In order that we were never perceived to be greenwashing or jumping on a bandwagon, and that we had real credibility in this space, during that period where I was talking to those NGOs, those charities, about whether they wanted some free pencils and the likes, before we started selling anything and creating Vent as a brand, I set up a free to participate Global Education Awareness Day for schools in the UK, primary and secondary schools, to teach their children all the issues that millions of children had around the world getting to school. So the extreme poverty that I was talking about earlier, the war and conflict, the natural disasters. So before we sold a single product, we were offering free to secondary and primary schools in the UK all the resources they need to teach their children about this issue. So that was one way of us saying, right, we're not greenwashing. We're not jumping on the bandwagon. This is something we absolutely believe in. And since 2000, that was launched in 2017. It's called Share a Pencil Day, going back to the pencils being the cornerstone of everything that we do and a cornerstone to education. On that one day in May each year, when they teach these children about these things, or teach their pupils, pupils are asked to do one particular task during the day where they have to share one pencil between 2 or 3 or a group of 5 to finish this task, this project, so that they get an understanding as pupils what it's like to be at a school where they haven't got all the resources that they take for granted.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what it is if you're in a small community in a developing country. Sometimes a pencil is all you need to attend schools. You've just got to have something to write with. And so we wanted to make sure that we weren't seen to be greenwashing. We weren't. It's clearly in our DNA. We also, going back to my original concept of giving pencils away, we still do that. We offer that to travelers, volunteers, people that are traveling to the different countries. They can take a cotton bag with 50 pencils in it and hand them out as they see fit. Or a charity working in Malawi 2 years ago came to us and said, we've got 20 schools. How many pencils can we have? And we sent them 10,000 pencils because they could get them there. They could distribute them. So we still do that as well.
Did you ever come up with any conflict from, if you were dealing in Africa, with local tribes or whatever, that are actually not offended by, but preventive of this kind of help and assistance?
We don't get terribly involved in the community projects. That's not what we're good at. There's amazing charities out there, including the one that we support at the moment that's got 25 or 30 different projects on the go at the moment. That's what they do well. They educate children. They build community schools. I make stationery. I do beautiful designs and turn up to Spring Fair. Yeah. So I don't get on the ground in these countries and try and impart what I think should be done in this school project. Far from it. We just make sure that those charities have got some more funds so that they can get on and do their good work. And I'm sure they do have conflicts and confrontations with all sorts of people out there, but they know how to deal with that we don't get our hands dirty in that respect.
Why was Spring Fair important to you? Is it like a bedrock of actually getting to the outlets that you need to get to the consumer?
Yeah, as I've said, I mean, meeting our retailers so that we can impart this story is really important. And there's a lot of noise out there, if it's the right expression, how you meet people digitally, how you do Zoom calls and team calls, and you can get it all in an instant online. But actually, to impart our passion, you need to meet people in person. And those people who have got the right sort of stores, we don't necessarily know who those people are. We might be able to look at a website and see what they're selling, but we can't see what they believe in.
Yeah.
And when they come by our stand, we make it clear what we stand for as well as what we sell. And so that sort of stops them in their tracks. And so suddenly we're getting the right people onto our stand at shows like the Spring Fair. And then they're easy to convert.
So you can judge an empathetic feeling by actually meeting them face to face.
Absolutely. Or they might stop and say, oh, I hadn't thought of doing that product range, but it fits very well with our ethos as a retailer. And we do other gift and we do clothing, we do interiors, but we hadn't thought of doing that. But actually it would sit well in a visual aspect, it would sit well at the price point, but more importantly, it sits well with what we believe in and what we fundamentally want to try and drive our store to stand for.
How long have you been an exhibitor?
In different guises, I've been there since about 2005, on and off.
Oh, right. Okay.
But with Vent for Change, as I said, we only launched that in 2019. And since then, we've done Spring Fair and Autumn Fair.
Yeah.
It brings us the international market. That's what it's really good for. And we're at a point now where international distributors and buyers are hearing about us and seeing us, and then they're coming to us.
So you're finding that Spring Fair actually creates an international market away from the domestic market as well?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because you're the first person to talk about that.
Yeah.
So what kind of following are you getting from abroad that's actually turning up at the stand?
Well, we get people that are from the Middle East. We're getting people from Australia, and I'm just referring now to last year's show, those that I can remember.
From Australia?
Yeah, literally. Now, whether we want to send all our goods to the other side of the world when there are perfectly good notebooks to be sold over there, the carbon footprint seems a bit crazy, and I have raised that with the Australians.
No, but I'm just...
But absolutely, yes, they're coming from Australia, they're coming from the Middle East, we've coming from America, Scandinavia, and all the obvious sort of, the French and the Germans, the Italians, the Spanish. We're getting many more international buyers at Spring Fair than we would be able to source ourselves or go to, the shows in their various countries. That's the most important thing for us, as well as seeing our domestic customers that we do see as well.
And when you're at the fair, do you actually write business there, or is it, we'll get back to you later?
That really depends. I mean, it's gone are the days where you'd go with your sort of double copy, pieces of paper. And
I remember it.
Yes, so do I. But those days are gone because people can now sort of email through an order form, or they can request an Excel sheet, or they can do it online. So I can't promise or pretend that it's like it used to be, where people would turn up and buy the next 6 months worth of stock going around all the different booths and stands at the Spring Fair. That's not the case. But we still do get people saying, oh, I've waited a little while to come and see you at the Spring Fair, and I'm going to place my order now. And they do. So I think it's important that for those that are buying it online or are buying it electronically, we get back to them to make sure that, we remind them that they have seen us at the show, etc. But it's, it's more about introducing ourselves to those buyers than selling to them on the day.
Do you get a buzz bowling up at the fair?
Love it.
Day one?
Love it.
Why?
Because it kicks my year off.
Really?
Yeah, it genuinely does. And I have to get all my designs ready because we try and launch, something fresh at the beginning of the year. So our retailers have got a reason to, good purpose, good reason to come and visit us. But I genuinely do. I spend a lot of my autumn and Christmas sort of getting stuff ready and getting prepared. And then come the beginning of January in the Spring Fair, I'm sort of ready to roll. And it gets me out of the office the first time, see the customers again, and get their reaction to what we launched in the autumn, that they've been selling. Did it sell well? Thankfully, it always does. But here's something new, and get their reaction. Sometimes I put a few teasers in there as well. This is something we might bring out for pre-Christmas. What do you think? And so, yeah, it's otherwise, because I'm not on the road seeing my customers.
Yeah.
It's my chance to be out there. I'm a very personable sort of guy. And I'm old enough and ugly enough to take the feedback, even if it's not great. But that's the important bit. And so being there is, yeah, I love it.
Do you get butterflies in the stomach the night before?
Sometimes, weird sort of, excitement, little boy way. Yeah, yeah, I think I do.
And have you got people out on the road supporting this effort or not?
No. No,
So
we're a really small team.
This is the one effort to actually make sales and actually get in front of the customer.
This is where we get to meet the bulk of our prospective retailers. Absolutely. Yeah. Exhibitions are fundamental for that.
And what would you do if it didn't exist?
Oh, goodness. I'd have to employ someone young that understands the digital environment and start marketing it through, I don't know, TikTok, Instagram, and we'll go down that route soon enough.
But it's actually irreplaceable for you.
It's a fundamental part of how we get our brand established. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay. If you could sum up Spring Fair in one word, what would it be?
Exciting.
Exciting.
Yeah, I think that's, you've brought that emotion back.
Yeah.
It's not what I often think when I'm packing the van, when I'm sort of building it up in the rain, staying in a B&B around the corner in Coleshill. But it is exciting. It's well, I'm not going to use lots of different words because you've asked for one, but I think exciting is, yeah.
Right.
And affirmative.
Thank you.